Hello, hello. Welcome back to Soul Search Sunday with Johnny Tiger. The date, I believe I'm so tired, I don't even know. March 17th, 2024, I believe. Uh, let's just confirm that, shall we? I got my trusty little talking clock.
Today's Sunday, March 17th.
Yeah, what do you know? I was right. Anyway. Ay, ay, ay. It's been a long day. I got a lot done today. Cleaned the house and actually went out for some sunshine. We're having some beautiful weather here in British Columbia. So I spent a bit of time in the sun. Uh, and yeah, been a productive day. But at the same time, it was very relaxing as well, if that even makes any sense. I seem to be rambling on and on. So, let's talk about me. Yeah, this week I don't have any sage advice or self-help training tip for you guys. This week we are going to talk about me. You know, when I first started the Soul Search Sunday series, it was not planned out. I basically planned, okay, Monday we're going to do music, Tuesday we're going to do self-defense, Wednesday we do cultural stuff, and Thursday we do toys and action figures. On Friday we do fitness, and on Saturday we do self-defense again. Because, well, why do we need 2 days for self-defense? Because, well, that's my specialty. And then I kind of came to the end, and I'm like, well, what am I going to do Sunday? I mean, I can do like self-defense again, but even I would find that to be a bit much. Um, so I thought, well, okay, why don't we just call it Soul Search Sunday? Then I can basically get a freebie, like a wild card. I can talk about what caught my attention this week, what's on my mind, and basically it's for me to soul search for and for you guys to listen. Um, and then as we progressed further into Soul Search Sunday, it's for some reason came turned into uh, a Sunday lecture time on self-help. It's more turned into like a self-help Sunday than anything else. So today we're going to bring it back a little bit to its original form and talk about me. Um, a while ago, while commenting on the video of an action figure reviewer on YouTube, I mentioned that I myself am a totally blind collector, uh, and how I appreciated his review because he gave me the kind of details I needed to make an educated decision on the action figure he was talking about. And reviewer actually responded to my comment, and he said, "Wow, that is cool. I've always wanted to know. I always wondered if blind people collect action figure differently or not. Like, what's the experience like?" Now, I don't know if I've ever actually made a video on this topic. I feel that I might have. And or at least, at the very least, I might have talked about bits and pieces of this. So if this seems a bit repetitive, if this seems like something that I already talked about before, excuse me, I'm getting old. I can't remember. And this is what we do when we get old, is we repeat things. Um, but be that as it may, today we are going to take a concerted effort and make a focused video on my experience as an action figure, a blind action figure collector. I'm going to tell you some pros and some cons. Yes, yes, there are pros. There are pros of being blind. As hard to believe as that may sound to some people, but there are pros. I'm trying to see the silver lining in being blind. Yeah, don't spoil it for me, right? Okay, guys, like, no, come on. being blind sucks. So allow me to tell you that there are some pros in it. So I'm going to give you the pros and the cons, and then I'm going to also tell you the reason why. Because I have been asked this multiple times in the past. People will say, that doesn't make sense. If you can't see them, why would you display them and collect them? Why would you waste money on buying action figures when you can't see them? So why don't we start with that? The why, the reason why, or in this case, reasons why. My first reason is not so different from the rest of you who collect action figure, right? Um, it is both a connection to my childhood. It's a callback to a happier time. My childhood sucked. Okay, those of you that followed my channel hear me talk about things that happened before. Those of you that see my documentary, by the way, if you haven't, go to johnnytiger.com and you will be able to see the short documentary and you will know a little bit more about my childhood. And so childhood sucked, but there were flashes of good moments mixed in with that uh, all that bad stuff. And a lot of those flashing moments, those shooting star moments, were connected to action figures. And one of my fondest memory today is me and my mom went to Hong Kong in 1993, and we went to a shopping center, and my mom wanted to go shop for clothes and didn't want to drag me all over the shopping center and have hear me whine about it. And so what she did, she bought me uh, like 100 action figures. I don't think it was actually 100 action figures, but it was definitely more than 50 action figures. Yes, back then my family were rich enough that buying 50 to 100 action figures on one shopping trip was nothing to my mom. So my mom basically did this. Like she went through the toy store, looked at everything she thought I would like and bought them, and then she parked me at a bench in the mall, and she said, "Open your toys, and I'm going to come back and check on you, and you can tell me which one's your favorite, and stuff like that." And so I did that. The entire afternoon, I didn't even feel like whining. I was so happy just opening toy after toy, trying to figure out what character was what and how which accessories fit with what and how they were put together and stuff like that. Like I didn't need backstories. I didn't need to know which cartoon, which movie these were from. Like for me, just learning them, feel them for the first time and figure out, is this a gun or is this an electric drill? Is this a sword or is this whatever. Figuring out the accessory, that was so exciting. And then obviously I didn't get to open all of them at the shopping center because my mom eventually got tired, and then so we went back to the hotel, uh, and we went for dinner, and then we went back to the hotel, and I remember that feeling of sitting on the floor in our hotel room with surrounded by like 100 action figures and boxes and all the trash you generate from opening them, accessories and body parts. I was like an island in a sea of action figures. Even today, that memory makes me so happy. Whenever I think about that day, that moment, it makes me smile. Every time I open an action figure, it brings a little bit of that magic back. So, like a lot of you who collect, my reason to collect is because it connects me with the past. It connects me to a happier time in my life. My second reason to collect, and listen up, those of you who think or have mentioned that this is a waste of money, this is very important, okay? I hope some of you are watching this. I hope some of you who watch this have asked people this before. Why do you waste money on toys? I hope this makes sense, but this is very important because this is the same with many, many collectors as well. My second reason is this is extremely healthy for my mental health. This is good for my mental health. Take COVID, for example. Those of you who have seen my bedroom, ever since I started these videos, uh, you know that you can see there are boxes and boxes in the background. I'm not talking about the action figure boxes on the wall. I'm talking about cardboard boxes stacked up in the back corner there. Those are unopened action figure. I never used to do that. Like for the longest time, I collect action figure. I always thought that was silly for people to have unopened action figures sitting around. Like, why wouldn't you open them? When you buy them, you should open them, right? That was my philosophy for the longest time. But then when COVID happened, I realized that, wow, suddenly now I have to plan for a year, 2 years of isolation, home alone, and there's so much maybe and what if and things that can go wrong. And I didn't know how I would survive this. How would I survive this and keep my sanity intact? And so that was when I started to say to myself, you know what? Every time you open an action figure, every time you put them together, every time you display them, you research them, read up on them, that makes you so happy. So rather than opening every figure as soon as you get them, save them for that rainy day. So when you feel particularly down and out and angry at the world, angry at being blind, open an action figure, focus on that action figure. And you know what? It works. It doesn't work 100% all the time, but it works every single time. Okay? Like I said, not 100%, but it's not some magical pill or medicine. But you know what? It's a lot cheaper than counseling. It's a lot better for me than marijuana or alcohol or stuff like that. So when you ask me, why do you collect action figures? Why do you have boxes of action figures unopened sitting there? Because uh, that's my uh, little bit of saving grace, my little bit of uh, therapy to myself when I am feeling particularly rotten. So it is extremely good for mental health reason. Reason number three. This one probably less people relate to it, but I think there's still a healthy portion of action figure collectors out there that can totally relate to this one. As an artist, and not just an artist, I can actually call myself a professional artist. Now, as a professional artist, wow, that sounds so cool. As a professional artist, action figures give me a lot of inspiration. As Especially as a blind person, right? Like those of you who are sighted, you walk around every day. You look up in the sky, you see the beautiful sunset. You look down at the floor, you see the beautiful. You look down at the ground, you see the beautiful flower. You look at the street, you see beautiful car, beautiful men, beautiful women. You see so much around you. I go through my day not seeing a single thing. So how can I get inspired? How would I draw inspiration? Now some people say, well, that come from your mind. Of course. Well, yeah, but the mind have to be fed something to process, to have inspiration. I can't just sit here without any extrasensory or external input and just come up with uh, inspiring artwork and poetry. After inspiring artwork and poetry, I have to get some input. So action figure is one of the very big way how sometimes I open the action figure. I will say this, as much as McFarlane's mostly statue, non-articulated figures annoy the heck out of me, those inspire me the most because they are so well posed. Their details are so well sculpted, and like when I get a articulated like Spider-Man action figure from Hasbro, I'm like, well, it's Spider-Man. It's Spider-Man. Like, in my head, I don't get really inspired by that. But if I get a statuette or a figurine from McFarlane, uh, let's say of Spider-Man. I mean, he doesn't make Spider-Man, but let's just assume he does, right? And he's going to have it on a really cool display base, like a rocky outcrop or section of the wall, and then Spider-Man going to be in some poses I never imagined he could be in before, and that's going to inspire me. Hey, how would I draw that? How would I make that? Put that into my artwork? How would I sculpt that in clay? So these are ways where I draw inspiration from. It's from action figures and statues. Also, I mean, kind of a little joke, but hey, hiring life models is very expensive, and most life models wouldn't be okay to stand there and let me feel them out. So, yeah, I mean, action figure and statues is probably the next best thing. Last but not least, the last reason, and I think this one is probably more unique to me and other blind collectors. Let me take this chance and mention this, right? Every blind person's life experience is different. So when I say this is why blind like I collect, this is just me. These things that I say, the pros and cons and why, is not going to apply to every blind person out there. These are just my experience. This is my reason. So the last reason why I collect is action figures are they are the bridge for me to connect with mainstream society, with pop culture, right? Um, when I was young, I used to feel so alone and left out because when people talked about Batman, I had no idea. Like when they say Batman, I have no idea. Like, okay, how is that a thing? Like a man dressed like a bat? That sounds stupid. That sounds ridiculous. Like how would that even be impressive or cool? People talk about Superman. They're like, okay, so what's super about him? It's a man that can fly. So what's super about him? People talk about uh 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 She-Ra or He-Man or Thundercat. Like none of those made any sense to me. And when you are blind and you already are kind of disconnected from the rest of your peers and family members, and then on top of that you don't understand anything that they're talking about, it will further isolate you. So from a very early age, I learned that by exposing myself to as many pop culture icons, mainstream icons, characters, and figures as I could, that allowed me to connect with my friends. So now when my friend talk about Dragon Ball Z, for example, just to throw some a curveball in there, the people talk about Dragon Ball Z, uh, I not only know what Goku looked like, I can even have my own opinion. Well, I think uh, Super Saiyan Trunks form is a lot more cool than Super Saiyan Goku. The hairstyle is much cooler and the proportions much cooler. Goku's hair is stupid. I don't really think that, okay? Like Dragon Ball Z fan, this is not a time to start a debate with me about like which character has cooler hair. Like, feel free to ask and we can have a nice conversation. But I was just using that as an example, right? So those of you who don't know Dragon Ball Z at all, right? You already feel lost when listening to me saying what I just said. Uh, Imagine if you are blind and you don't know any character, and you have no point of reference for anything. That's a sad world to live in. At least that's how I felt. So I chose to use action figures as a channel to learn to expose myself to the mainstream society, so I can have a common language with my friends and my peers, and my brothers and sisters. So when they talk Dragon Ball Z, I can talk Dragon Ball Z. When they want to talk Power Ranger, I can talk Power Ranger. When they want to talk Barbie, well, I don't have much to say about Barbie, but I felt enough Barbie dolls, so I have my opinion on how ridiculous the physical proportion is. So at least I have that. So that gives you guys an idea of what I'm talking about. I feel, and then I learn, and then I research, and then I know, right? Um, I learned so many characters this way. Terminators, Batman, um, Aliens, Predators, Robocop, uh, all these things that some of you, many of you take for granted that you already know because you've seen them on TV, you've seen the comic book. I learned through action figure. So originally, I was thinking about going into the pros and cons, but this video is becoming rather long. So let's make this a multiple part series. Today we explore the why. Next week we'll come back and we'll talk about the con of being a blind action figure collector, and then the week after we'll end this on a positive note and talk about the pros. Thank you for being here and listen to me rambling on and on today. We'll be back again tomorrow for some Music Monday. Have a good night.